All right, so yesterday while I sat by the lake looking into the death and wondering if someone would ever look at my videos that were recorded on my drone, I started to get really, really down on myself. And you guys know I'm not the most optimistic person in the world, but yesterday I truly felt that hard hitting sadness. And it's because I've noticed that something's been driving me more insane than normal. In a quiet, classy, internal meltdown kind of way, I've noticed that our lives aren't going to improve within our lifetime. And it starts with the simple fact that everyone has noticed that the bare minimum, the things we eat every day are starting to represent the lives that we live. Yesterday I was watching The Epic Economist and he had TikTok after TikTok after TikTok of people coming to the realization that something's fundamentally changed in every part of our lives. And that comes down to what is passing as food these days. I just cooked my breakfast, eggs, a little bit of steak, some vegetables, and I can tell you, it tasted like cardboard, every bit of it. I couldn't even tell you if you asked me straight, what did your breakfast taste like? And I thought this was just me because it started happening around the bug time where the quality of everything, fast food, groceries, even sit down restaurants, it doesn't taste like anything anymore. Sometimes I feel like all we do is we coat the outside of our actual food with with a layer of either spices or sauces or something. We have to cover up the outside layer and then just lick the outside layer so that we get that huge hit of sodium or whatever they use to disguise the flavor of everything. And life is very much so mimic that. Is that the outside of it seems okay, but when you close your eyes, when you get home, you lock your front door and you come inside your house, it's not real. And that's the real eye opening thing that I experienced a couple of days ago. The moment that I came to the realization that my drone wasn't going to make it back to me, it's flying in, I'm seeing it, it's coming, it's locked in on its home position. It's about 20 feet up in the air, it's about 20 feet out, it's flying, and then suddenly it starts going down, down, down until it hits the surface of the water. And then it slowly sinks into the bottom of the lake, never to be seen again, at least not by me. And at that moment, I felt sheer panic. And not a panic that I've felt in a long time. It wasn't hundreds and hundreds of dollars going down the drain, but it's your entire life spiraling out of control with the power light going off, flashing at you and saying, you know what? This isn't going to end well for you. Not in any conceivable way whatsoever. And that's what I've been experiencing now for the last 2 days. That warning light has been flashing in the back of your head now for years. You know there's no escape to this. And the only thing that's happening right now in real time is things are progressively getting worse. Not only because we have a completely dysfunctional society, but the very people that live in that society have come to the conclusion that the light's been flashing red for nearly a year and everything is becoming more out of reach. The illusion that somehow these things are going to turn around is completely unrealistic. And more of you are coming to that conclusion. There are thousands more people waking up every single day and saying to themselves, I can't live like this because I'm not alive. I'm having tons more YouTube channels recommended to me like mine. People that have seen what's happening to them and want to get out of the way, but they don't know how. And that's why they're here. That's why you find this channel. Because you look around at the mainstream media and you know it's all fake. Everything on your Instagram reels is fake. Everything you see out there is fake. And then you come here and you hear someone saying the quiet part out loud is that we're all screwed. And people don't want to hear that because it blows up their little bubble. The bubble of positivity that they live in bursts when they find this channel. Because here you're going to hear what you can truly expect. Your paycheck isn't going to go up just because corporations feel it in their heart that they need to pay their workers more. When Kroger's, Walmart, and Target all say that they're getting rid of thousands of people, when the CEO of Walmart and Target both step down, they're not stupid. They know a sinking ship when they see it. I'm willing to bet that the Black Friday sales that they expected to lift them this year were actually miserable. I made it a point not to buy a single thing with a Black Friday sale label on it yesterday, intentionally. There's nothing I need from this fake society that's worth spending money on. All you should ever spend your money is on rent and food. That's it. Nothing else. And that's the only way that you're going to get them to turn around and look and think and make those corporations, those monopolies that are out there, realize that, hey, people want real food, they want real paychecks, and they want a return to to some sort of normal society. Because it's like we've been living in a alternative universe that's fueled by rich people, and anyone who doesn't like it is considered an enemy of the state, a thought criminal like myself. And with that said, let's get into talking point number one. The loneliest part of adulthood is eating dinner in silence while pretending everything's fine so no one asks you if you're okay, because the answer would ruin the vibe. And that's what I'm doing out here. I'm ruining the vibe of it being okay. I've sat alone and eaten my dinner, or whatever I'm eating at whatever time of day, by myself almost my entire life. Even when I was a kid, no one in my household liked each other. So we would all go to the kitchen, we'd get our plate, and we'd go back to the corner of the house where we stayed. Everyone had a television in their room, and we all just stayed in a room. It's like living in a house with your family, but they were all roommates. The same way that every single relationship with your significant other eventually becomes a roommate situation. I've seen this my entire adult life. The people that you think are living the what you would consider the optimal lifestyle, you get to know them a little better, and women become mothers of adult children that they feed on the floor. I knew this girl whose husband, they'd been married for a long time. She'd come over and bring him his dinner like a doggy bowl every night at the same time. And he'd sit there and play video games like a zombie. And eventually he'd fall asleep down there playing video games. She'd be up in her room watching Netflix, eating her dinner. And the weekends were spent doing chores together, or he spent the whole weekend playing video games with his bros. But it wasn't a relationship. And that's the trajectory that every single relationship heads into, is we get tired of each other. Because at the end of the day, we're pretty boring creatures. We're creatures of habit. We're creatures of warmth. We're creatures no different than adopting a giant human pet. Unfortunately, you can't take this pet back to the pound and say, well, this one's broken, I want another one. No, people come to the conclusion that this isn't going forward in any conceivable way. I think this is the reason why people love pets so much, because at least the pet isn't going to leave you in your room by yourself while they go do something else that's more entertaining, that they find more fulfilling. Pets don't have that urge to play Call of Duty for 12 hours at a time. They'll just sit there and stare at you. And this is something that I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands of people over my lifetime, and they've said the exact same thing. I'd rather have a cat than a husband. And that brings us to the stark realization that this is why there are so many cat ladies in their 40s. This is why so many women are turning to little dogs instead of to relationships, because they know where that relationship's heading. And it's nearly impossible to avoid that outcome where you become roommates and you open your eyes and you're 30, you open your eyes and you're 40, and suddenly at 40, I don't know what it is about 40, but something in the old coconut changes. That's where divorce starts. And now you have all these single women in their 40s, maybe with a few kids, but now they're Susie Rottencrotch with kids. But it doesn't diminish their desire for relationships. But who's going to date a woman in her 40s with kids? Yeah, that's where you end up. And so there's no winning in this society. And men have it no better. I mean, eventually she's going to not want to put out, or she's going to get tired of it, or she's going to look at your manhood and think, you know what? It's not worth it for that tiny little hot dog. Get this, what do they call it? I'm not going to fire up this barbecue for that tiny little hot dog. And that's how relationships die. And that's how a relationship with our very existence is has been cold. RIP, enjoyment of life. Because at least for me, there's never been a point in my adult life in which I was excited about doing something. There's nothing exciting about our lives. The things that we can afford to do at our pay rate are not the things that we want to do. Most of us are never going to go on an exciting vacation. The vast majority of us, the 99%, will never get into a relationship with a person that we're truly physically attracted to and financially attracted to. Because I would put financially attracted to as the number one thing before physical attraction. But they're both part of the same puzzle. They have to fit together, or else you're just not interested. So, moving on to talking point number 2 before we get to the main point here. The longer I work, the less I earn, like climbing the ladder and somehow found out it's actually an escalator going straight down. That is truly something to be said, is that the more that I've worked in my life, the less money you make and the more expensive things get. So Monday morning when you wake up and you're at work and you've come back from being off from work for 10 days like I have, you're going to come back and you're going to sit down in that chair, and it's going to be the most depressing moment in your life. Because when you're not there, when you're not strapped to that chair, chained to that chair, with your eyes being held open, Clockwork Orange style, being forced to take in something you don't want. Because let's face it, no one wants to work. It doesn't come down to what the job is. In fact, yesterday I was talking to ChatGPT and it couldn't understand how I keep saying to it, every job is Taco Bell. Because that's it. You show up, you do what you need to do, you clean the floors, you get beaten up emotionally by the customers, and then you go to leave that job and realize that there's something wrong. Every time we leave our parole jobs, there's something wrong. Our wallet is too light when we leave work. And it's on repeat for 60 years. And you're just like, well, when is my wallet going to feel full? Well, sorry, Johnny Sixpack, that's not part of work. You gaining meaningful amounts of money enough to live, that was never part of the deal when you signed up to work at Taco Bell. It's never going to be enough, because every time that you get to a point, things get more expensive. And it's perpetual. It's designed that way. It's a system that was always designed for control over you rather than giving you the satisfaction of living a halfway decent life. All right. The third section of today's video is going to be called the dating section. And it goes like this. And it's not just cities. People are becoming standardized too. Tinder used to be exciting. Now it's like scrolling through the same 5 haircuts, the same gym selfies, and the same bio that says, I love to travel, even though you've never traveled before. The same looking for my partner in crime voice, not that makes me want to pass into another dimension. Looking for my partner in crime. Those childish things that people put into their bios, and everyone does this because we are all seeking the same thing, right? Men are seeking a pink taco, and women are seeking a fat wallet. That's at the end of the day, that's all relationships come down to, is if one or the other, the criteria is met. But the same five haircuts is something that really struck me because I notice these things when I'm at the gym. I'm going to be at the gym in 30 minutes. And when I walk in, it's going to be the exact same people. Older men, all broken down, older women in yoga pants because I don't know how some people come to the conclusion that they look good in yoga pants, but some people just don't. But it doesn't stop them from getting into yoga pants. It's like when really tall women wear high heels. You can't keep women out of high heels. For some reason, it's something that they like to do. And the sameness about the human condition almost frightens me sometimes. Is that you walk through and you can actually literally count how many women are wearing the exact same haircut. Messy buns, ponytails, just not even trying. And I often look at that as like, look how boring we are as a society. There are people here that have given up on their physical appearance, not just today, not just yesterday, not just because they're at the gym and they're not wearing any makeup, but this is the same haircut they're going to have tomorrow when they're sitting in their office job, let's say at Wells Fargo, and 4 days later, someone's going to notice that there's a certain strange smell coming from the corner where Susie Rottencrotch sits. And eventually, the janitor is going to notice that there's a smell. And he's going to walk back there, and there's going to be Susie Rottencrotch, who passed days ago. No one noticed, but she's sitting there perfectly still in her work clothes and her goofy smile, staring at the monitor as life drained out of her for some reason or another, and no one noticed. That's the most concerning part of our society, is that we become nearly invisible to one another. The smile, in my opinion, is that invisibility. It's a shield that says everything is fine to everyone around you in our society. In fact, someone left that comment yesterday that smiling has been known to make you feel good regardless. You could be tortured in the bottom of a dungeon in someone's basement, and as long as you keep smiling, you're going to feel good about it. Not sure how that works, but corporations have caught on to the idea. That's their mentality behind making poor people working in retail smile constantly. It's the reason why when a stranger passes by you, a perfect example is in the parking lot on Thursday. No, is it Thursday? Yeah, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday. Might have been Wednesday. And I'm walking back to my car. I oh, I picked up a bag of something. I picked up a bag of gravel, and I'm walking back to my car with my little bag of gravel. And this beautiful woman carrying a 5 gallon empty water jug passes me, and she just, she faces me and smiles really big, and I'm like, "What was that for?" Well, it wasn't for me; it's for her. And she's like, "Oh, look, there's that gargoyle millennial steam. I better smile at him rather than frown at him." But it was for her. She needed to feel better, so she smiled. It wasn't for me. Nobody smiles at ugly people. It's like you want to pretend they're not there. You just cover your eyes and you walk past them as quickly as you can. But that's the world that we live in. And it's an ugly world. It is a very ugly world. And the fact that we choose to participate in that world. Yesterday, while I was getting help to find my drone at the bottom of the lake, there's those two older guys that were helping me, and they just kept talking to each other like NPCs. It's like, oh yeah, it's great. Everything's great. Very optimistic. Hours passed and very optimistic. I had to keep telling them to give up the search. But no, true NPC style characters just nodding their heads and saying, cool, Yeah, cool. Yeah. And hours went by and it was driving me insane. But it's just a reflection on our greater society is that we've all become NPCs. Even when you go to work, you don't complain about your low wage. You don't complain about the the nature of the work being mindless, repetitive, low paying. You don't complain because you're just grateful to have work in a society where layoffs and reductions and employment are happening every single day. That's what you do. You just pretend. We're all pretending to be okay. And I'm not okay with that. I know I'm not okay. For 100%, I'm not okay. And if you're still here watching this video past the 20-minute mark, you're not okay either.